Everyone thinks Marilyn Monroe was destroyed by the Kennedy brothers, but a secret tape hidden for 57 years and marked destroy tells a different story. Marilyn wasn't the victim. She was trying to save JFK's life, and he actually listened. November 2019. A brick colonial on N Street Northwest in Georgetown. The kind of house where history happened behind closed doors. Thomas Kellerman had passed away 3 months earlier at 94 years old. No children, no close family, just a house full of secrets and a nephew who hired an estate company to sell everything. Linda Vasquez had been doing estate sales for 23 years. Love letters from the Korean War, stock certificates worth millions in shoeboxes. A first edition Hemingway used as a doorstop. But she'd never seen anything like what she found that afternoon. The sale was almost over. Linda was checking the basement when she noticed a box behind the water heater. Plain cardboard, but someone had written across the top in thick black marker, "Destroy classified." And then, in shakier handwriting, "I couldn't. God forgive me." Linda's hands were shaking when she opened it. Inside was reel-to-reel tape, 7 inches across, red plastic reel, and on medical tape stuck to the side, handwritten in blue, "MM, personal, do not file." Underneath was a Secret Service badge, Thomas J. Kellerman, Special Agent, issued 1959, and beneath that a note on White House stationery from the Kennedy administration. The note was dated August 6, 1962, 2 sentences. "I couldn't destroy this. God forgive me." Linda called the nephew immediately. He had no idea what it meant. His uncle never talked about the Kennedys, never talked about anything from those years, but he'd kept this box for 57 years. They needed to know what was on that tape. So they called Dr. Patricia Chen, one of the best audio forensics experts in the country, former FBI, 25 years analyzing recordings. Dr. Chen arrived 2 days later. She set up her equipment, spectrograph analyzers, digital transfer systems. She threaded the tape carefully, 57-year-old magnetic tape that could disintegrate if handled wrong. She pressed play. At first, nothing. Just the hiss of blank tape. 10 seconds, 15, then a breath, someone collecting themselves, and then a voice. A woman's voice. Soft, shaking slightly, unmistakable. Dr. Chen sat frozen. She'd studied Marilyn Monroe's voice patterns before. This was her. This was actually her. And she was crying. Dr. Chen listened to 3 minutes, then stopped. She called Linda and the nephew in. Her face was pale. "This is real," she said. "This is Marilyn Monroe's voice, recorded in early August 1962, probably 72 hours before she was gone, and this is devastating." But no one was prepared for what Marilyn actually said on that tape, or why she made it at 3 a.m. on the last weekend of her life. The tape begins with silence. 10 seconds. Then Marilyn's voice, soft and cracking. "Jack, I see you, and I know you're not okay." Dr. Chen stopped the recording. We need to understand what was happening in Marilyn's life when she made this, because what she says next changes everything we thought we knew. To understand that tape, you have to go back 5 months. March 1962. Cherry blossoms are blooming in Washington. August 1962. The hottest summer California had seen in years, and Marilyn Monroe was falling apart. Everyone in Hollywood knew it. But what they didn't know was that she wasn't falling apart because of the men in her life. She was falling apart because of what she knew about one man in particular. The story everyone tells goes like this. Marilyn had an affair with President Kennedy. It ended badly. She spiraled. But that's not what happened. The affair with Jack Kennedy had ended in March, 5 months before that tape. One phone call. His voice was cold and distant. "It's been wonderful, but we both know this has to stop." Click. Done. Marilyn cried for 3 days, then picked herself up. She was 36 years old. She'd survived worse. But here's what changed everything. After Jack pulled away, his brother Bobby stepped in, not romantically. Bobby Kennedy, the Attorney General, saw something in Marilyn that nobody else did. He saw someone drowning who was still trying to save everyone around her. They talked, hours of phone calls, late at night when neither could sleep and they were both carrying secrets too heavy to hold. Bobby told her things he couldn't tell anyone else. About the Cuban Missile Crisis, about living in his brother's shadow, about watching someone you love destroy themselves. That's when Marilyn learned the truth about Jack. Dr. Max Jacobson, the man they called Dr. Feelgood, injected the president with amphetamines and steroids multiple times a day. The vitamins, they called them. Magic shots that let you work 20-hour days and keep performing when your body screamed for rest. Bobby told Marilyn in June. His voice was breaking. My brother is destroying himself, and I can't stop him. The doctors say the shots are dangerous, but Jack won't listen. He says he can't do the job without them. Marilyn went silent. She understood exactly what Bobby wasn't saying. She'd been taking pills for 15 years, Nembutal to sleep, Dexedrine to wake up, pills to function, pills to perform. She recognized the signs in Jack because she lived them every day. The way your hands shake, the way you can't sit still, can't let anyone see you're barely holding it together. The way you need more and more just to feel normal. Bobby, she said quietly, how bad is it? Bad. He's aging 10 years for everyone. His hands tremble. He can't focus without the shots. And he's getting reckless, Marilyn. Marilyn made a decision that night. She had to reach Jack, not as a former lover, as someone who understood exactly where his path was leading because she was further down that same road. On August 3rd at 3 a.m., Marilyn locked herself in her bedroom, set up her tape recorder, and pressed record. What came out wasn't a love letter. It was a desperate attempt to save a life. Marilyn's hands were shaking as she threaded the tape. She'd taken 2 pills to calm down, but not enough to slur her words. She needed him to hear every word clearly. This might be her only chance. 3 a.m., August 3rd, 1962. The Brentwood house was silent except for Marilyn's breathing. Her bedroom, white walls, white carpet, white nightgown, everything white like a hospital room, like she was already disappearing. The tape recorder sat on her nightstand, a woolen sack reel to reel. She'd bought it 6 months earlier to practice lines. Now she was using it for something far more important. She tried everything else first. Called the White House switchboard 4 times. The president isn't taking personally. Calls, Miss Monroe. She'd begged Bobby to set up a meeting. Jack won't see you, Marilyn. He thinks it's too risky. She'd written letters, 3 of them, never heard back. This was her last option. Record a message. Give it to Agent Thomas Kellerman, the one Secret Service man she trusted. Have him deliver it to Jack. On the nightstand beside the recorder, a glass of water, half empty, lipstick marks on the rim. Next to it, a photograph. Jack Kennedy at the Carlisle Hotel, May 1962, the last time she'd seen him. He was laughing at something she'd said, that genuine Kennedy smile that didn't make it to his eyes anymore. She was looking at that photograph as she pressed record. Jack, I need to tell you. She stopped, pressed stop, rewound. This wasn't right. Second attempt. Mr. President, I'm recording this because... Stop. Rewind. Too formal. She took a breath. Her hands were shaking worse now. She closed her eyes. Pictured him sitting across from her. Not the president. Just Jack. The man who'd told her at 3 a.m. that he was tired of being looked at and never seen. The man who'd let her see him scared just once. She opened her eyes. Pressed record 1 more time. This time, the words came. Not the polished movie star. Just a woman who'd seen too much suffering and recognized it in someone she couldn't stop loving. What she said next would make headlines today if the media had heard it in 1962. But only 3 people ever heard these words while JFK was alive. If you want to make sure stories like this don't get lost to history again, hit that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to hear is what Marilyn Monroe really sounded like when nobody was performing. The tape begins with silence, 10 seconds. Then Marilyn's voice, soft and cracking. Jack, I recognize you. And I know you're not okay, not angry, not pleading, just gentle and knowing. The voice of someone who's been where you are. The voice of someone who loves you enough to tell you the truth. I understand what you're doing to yourself. The shots, the pills, the way you can't stop moving, can't sit still, can't sleep. I see it, Jack, because I do it too. We're the same. We're both running from something. We're both so scared to stop that we'll do anything to keep going. Her voice catches. A pause. I remember the last time I saw you. May at the Carlisle. Your hands were shaking when you lit your cigarette. You'd aged 5 years in 3 months. There was this hollowness in your eyes, like you were seeing something that scared you. I wanted to ask if you were okay, but you were already performing again. That smile, that charm. So I smiled back and performed too. That's what we do. We perform. We hide everything that's real. Another pause. When she speaks again, her voice is softer. Bobby told me you won't listen to the doctors. You won't listen to him. So maybe you'll listen to me. Not because I'm trying to save your presidency, but because I'm trying to save you, Jack. Just you. You think the medication helps you perform. You think it makes you sharper, stronger. I know because I tell myself the same things. I need these pills to sleep. I need these pills to wake up. I need them to be Marilyn Monroe when Norma Jean just wants to disappear. But here's what I've learned, Jack. They're destroying us, not quickly, slowly, one shot at a time, until we don't recognize ourselves anymore, until we can't remember what it felt like to be okay without them. Her voice breaks. She's crying now. Not loud sobbing, but quiet tears. I recognize the path you're on. I'm further down that same road, and I'm begging you to turn around while you still can. Because once you get where I am, Jack, there's no coming back. You just keep going forward until there's nowhere left to go. Please, please stop taking those shots from Dr. Jacobson. Please listen to Bobby. Please don't end up like me, empty and alone and wondering if anyone ever really saw you. Silence again. 5 seconds. 7. Then Marilyn's voice, barely a whisper. I see you, Jack. I see the real you, the one who's scared and tired and doesn't know how to stop. And I'm telling you, it's okay to be that person. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to need help. Agent Kellerman, sitting in his car outside Marilyn's house, had heard thousands of intercepted communications. But he'd never heard anything like this. This wasn't a woman scorned. This was someone trying to prevent the exact thing that had already happened to her. And then Marilyn said something that made Kellerman pull over on the side of the road and weep. Marilyn's voice drops to almost a whisper. I'm not going to make it, Jack. We both know that, but you still can. The words hang there, raw, honest, a woman understanding the end coming, not giving up, not wanting it, just knowing. The way you know winter's coming when the leaves start to turn, they're going to say, I'm gone because of you. And Bobby. The newspapers will write their stories. They'll make you the villain and me the victim, and none of it will be true. Her voice gets stronger, clearer. I'm fading because I never learned to live with myself. I spent my whole life trying to be enough for other people, enough for the studios, enough for the directors, enough for the men who said they loved me but really just loved the idea of me. I kept performing until I forgot there was a real person underneath. A long pause, the sound of Marilyn shifting. But you, Jack, you have a chance. You have Caroline and John. You have Bobby, who would walk through fire for you. You have time. Do you understand? You still have time. That's when her voice breaks completely. She starts crying, real sobbing, the kind that comes from somewhere deep inside. For 15 seconds, there's nothing but Marilyn Monroe crying into a tape recorder at 3 a.m, alone, trying to save someone who might never hear her. Then she tries to collect herself. You can hear her breathing deeply, but it doesn't work. The tears are still there. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cry. I wish I'd been stronger for you. I wish I could have been the kind of person who helped instead of another problem. I wish I could have shown you that it's possible to be broken and still be worth loving. Her voice cracks again. Please stop taking those shots from Dr. Jacobson. Please, I'm begging you. Listen to Bobby. Let the real doctors help you. Please don't end up like me, empty and alone. Another pause. You can hear her trying to figure out what to say next. When she speaks again, her voice is different, softer, more tender. I need to tell you something I should have said when I had the chance. Something real. Then came the part of the tape that changed everything. The part where Marilyn stopped talking about medication and started talking about love. Marilyn takes a shaky breath. I need to tell you something I should have said. Something real. I didn't love you because you were president. I loved you because when we were alone, you let yourself be scared. Her voice is steadier now. Do you remember that night in New York? February, I think. You couldn't sleep. It was 3 a.m, and you were sitting on the edge of the bed staring at nothing. I asked what was wrong. Then you told me about the nightmares, the war, the PT boat, watching men you loved sink into water so dark you couldn't see them, carrying that with you every day. You weren't performing that night, Jack. You weren't the war hero or the president or the golden Kennedy boy. You were just a man who'd witnessed too much suffering, and I understood you because I'd witnessed too much too. Different things, but the same emptiness underneath. That's why I loved you, not the charm, not the power. I loved you because in those quiet moments, you could stop pretending. We could both stop. We could just be two broken people trying to figure out how to keep going. A soft laugh, not happy, bittersweet. That's what we were, weren't we? Mirror images. Both performing all the time. Both terrified someone would see through the act. both medicated ourselves so we could keep being what everyone needed. The difference was, you had people who could catch you when you fell, and I had nobody. Her voice gets quieter. My only regret, Jack, isn't that the affair ended. It's that I never told you that you didn't have to be perfect to be loved. You could be scared and tired and broken, and I would have loved you anyway. I did love you anyway. So I'm telling you now, even though you'll probably never hear this. You don't have to be the perfect president or the perfect son or the perfect anything. You just have to stay alive. You just have to keep breathing. You just have to let people help you, because the world needs imperfect people who keep trying. That's what heroes really are, Jack. Not the ones who never fall, the ones who fall and get back up. The ones who are terrified but do the brave thing anyway. Take care of yourself. Not for the country, not for your father's legacy, for Caroline and John, for Bobby, who worships you, for yourself, Jack, for the man I saw that night in New York who let himself be human. Her voice catches. I wish I could be there to help you. I wish I could hold your hand the way you held mine when I told you about the orphanage. I wish I could tell you it's going to be okay, but I can't. All I can do is this. Record these words and hope they reach you. Marilyn paused. The tape kept rolling, and then she said 6 words that would explain everything that happened next. I'm sorry, I couldn't save us both. If Marilyn's words are hitting you as hard as they hit Agent Kellerman, leave a comment about someone you wish you told the truth to before it was too late. Stay with us, because what happened next proves she didn't record that tape for nothing. August 4th, 1962, 2 p.m. Agent. Thomas Kellerman's pager went off. Report to Brentwood residence. He arrived 20 minutes later. Mrs. Eunice Murray, the housekeeper, met him at the side door. She was nervous. Miss Monroe asked me to give you this, she whispered, handing him a package wrapped in brown paper. She said it's important. She said you're the only one she trusts. Kellerman took the package. He could feel the tape reel inside. What's on it? She didn't tell me, just said it has to get to the president, and it has to be you who delivers it. Kellerman walked back to his car. A black Ford sedan parked 3 houses down. He sat in the driver's seat, stared at the package. He unwrapped it. Inside, a note in Marilyn's handwriting. For President Kennedy, please make sure he hears this. It matters. And underneath, thank you for being kind to me, Agent Kellerman. You're a good man. He was supposed to screen everything. Every communication from Marilyn Monroe to the Kennedy family. Screen it. And if it's inappropriate, destroy it. Keep the president safe from scandal. But something about the way Mrs. Murray had looked at him, something about the way her hands had been shaking, this wasn't a scandal. Kellerman threaded the tape into his portable player. He pressed play. Thomas Kellerman was 51 years old, Marine Corps veteran, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, 2 Purple Hearts. He'd seen men torn apart by mortars, held his best friend while he bled out on black sand, carried those memories for 17 years without shedding a tear. But sitting in that car on a Saturday afternoon in August, listening to Marilyn Monroe's voice break as she tried to save a man's life, Thomas Kellerman cried. For the first time since the war, he listened to all 11 minutes. I heard her voice crack when she said she wasn't going to make it. I heard her sob, heard her final words. I'm sorry I couldn't save us both. When it ended, Kellerman sat in silence. This wasn't inappropriate. This wasn't a scandal. This was a woman trying to save someone's life. The protocol said to destroy it. But Kellerman had heard something that changed the equation. She wasn't trying to hurt Jack Kennedy. She was trying to save him. Kellerman made his decision. He will fly to Washington tonight. He would hand-deliver this tape to President Kennedy personally. Orders be damned. He drove to LAX, caught the 6 p.m. flight to Dulles. The tape was in his briefcase, locked, classified materials. When Kellerman's plane touched down in Washington 12 hours later, he turned on his car radio. The news hit him like a punch. Marilyn Monroe was no longer living in her Brentwood home, apparent overdose. He left Los Angeles at 6 p.m. She passed around midnight. While he was in the air carrying her final words, Marilyn had slipped away. Kellerman pulled over. The tape was still in his briefcase, the last thing Marilyn Monroe ever said. And suddenly, delivering that tape became the most important mission of his life. Kellerman found President Kennedy in the Oval Office on August 6th, reading newspaper coverage of Marilyn's passing. JFK looked up and knew something was wrong. It was late afternoon. The summer sun slanted through those tall windows. The air conditioning hummed. Outside, the sounds of Washington, distant traffic, a helicopter, normal sounds. But nothing about this moment was normal. The office was empty except for the president. Unusual. Jack Kennedy was rarely alone, but today he'd cleared everyone out. The newspapers were spread across the Resolute desk. Los Angeles Times, New York Times, Washington Post, all running the same story. The articles were careful, respectful, but you could read between the lines. "Agent Kellerman," JFK said. His voice was flat, tired. "What can I do for you?" Kellerman stepped inside, closed the door. "Mr. President, Miss Monroe recorded something before she was gone. You need to hear it." JFK's face changed. A flash of something. Fear, maybe, or guilt. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Sir," Kellerman interrupted, "Secret Service agents don't interrupt presidents." But he did. "She passed away trying to get this to you. You owe it to her to listen." The two men looked at each other. A long moment. Then JFK nodded. "Play it." Kellerman set up the tape player, threaded the reel. His hands were steady. "I'll step outside, sir." "No, stay." "Mr. President." "Stay, Agent Kellerman. I don't want to hear this alone." Kellerman pressed play. Then he walked to the door, watching as President Kennedy listened to a woman who loved him say goodbye. At first, Jack's face was defensive, that Kennedy mask. But when Marilyn's voice said, "I recognize you, and I know you're not okay," something in that mask cracked. When she said, "I understand what you're doing to yourself," the shots, the pills, Jack leaned forward, elbows on the desk. When she said, "I'm not going to make it, Jack," Jack Kennedy put his head in his hands. Kellerman watched the president's shoulders shake. This was the most powerful man in the world, and he was breaking. Jack stopped the tape, just for a moment, then he pressed play again. He listened to all 11 minutes, didn't stop again, didn't speak, just listened to Marilyn Monroe tell him she loved him enough to try to save his life even as she lost her own. When it ended, Jack sat motionless for 20 minutes. The summer light had shifted lower, shadows lengthening. Finally, Jack picked up the phone. "Get me Bobby," he said. "I don't care where he is, find him." Bobby Kennedy arrived 30 minutes later. I walked into the Oval Office, took one look at his brother's face, and knew something had shattered. "Jack, what—" "Just listen, Bobby." Jack rewound the tape, pressed play. Both brothers sat in silence. When Marilyn's voice said, "I recognize you," Bobby's breath caught. When she said, "I'm not going to make it, Jack, but you still can," Bobby closed his eyes. When she said, "I'm sorry I couldn't save us both," Bobby's hand went to his face. The tape ended. Neither brother spoke for a full minute. Then Bobby broke the silence. "She was trying to save you," Bobby said quietly. "Right up until the end." Jack's voice was rough. "I lost her, Bobby. Not directly, but I lost her anyway." Bobby shook his head. "Jack, she didn't leave because of you. Because I walked away when she needed someone to see her." Jack stood up. I walked to the window. This felt bigger somehow, more personal, more unforgivable. He turned back to Bobby. "She saw me, Bobby, really saw me, and instead of letting her help, I cut her off because it was easier, because I was too much of a coward." Bobby said nothing. Sometimes silence is the only appropriate response to truth. Jack walked back to the desk, pressed rewind, listened to those 6 final words one more time. "I'm sorry I couldn't save us both." He stopped the tape. I looked at Bobby. "But she did save me, Bobby, even after I'd abandoned her. She used her last bit of strength to try to save me. Anyway, what are you going to do?" Jack's jaw set, that look Bobby had seen before battles. "I'm going to honor her. I'm going to prove she didn't pass away for nothing." And then JFK did something that would change the trajectory of his presidency, though no one would ever know why. 3 days after listening to Marilyn's tape, President Kennedy fired Dr. Max Jacobson. No explanation, no public announcement, just gone. The changes were immediate. White House staffers noticed the president seemed calmer, less frenetic, more present. He started spending more time with Caroline and John, playing on the Oval Office floor, reading bedtime stories. His hands stopped shaking. The tremors that had been getting worse just stopped. His detail noticed he was sleeping better. Not much better, but better. Pierre Salinger asked once, "What happened, Jack? You seem different." "I listened to someone," JFK said. "I finally listened, but the most important change happened in private." JFK called Kellerman into the Oval Office 2 weeks later. "The tape," Jack said. "I need you to keep it safe." "Sir, I can destroy it." "No, don't destroy it." JFK was firm. "Someday, someone might need to hear this. They need to hear what she said, how much she understood." "You want it filed, sir?" "No, not filed. I want you to keep it. Personal custody. And I want you to promise me something. anything, Mr. President. Never tell anyone about this tape while I'm alive. Never speak of it, but don't destroy it. Because maybe 50 years from now, people will need to know that Marilyn Monroe wasn't just a tragedy. She was a woman who tried to save a life even as she lost her own. Kellerman kept that promise. The tape went into his personal safe that day, stayed there for 56 years, through November 1963 when JFK was lost in Dallas, through June 1968 when Bobby was taken to Los Angeles. Kellerman never told anyone, not his wife, not his children. He carried that secret, alone. Before he passed away in 2019, Kellerman wrote one final note. His handwriting is shaky now, 94 years old. Parkinson's making the letters hard to read. I couldn't destroy this. God forgive me. The world needs to know that Marilyn Monroe was more than a tragedy. She was a woman who tried to save a life even as she lost her own. She saw what the rest of us missed. She loved when everyone thought she was just broken. She had more courage in her last days than most of us have in a lifetime. If you believe Marilyn's real story deserves to be heard, share this video with someone who remembers her. Let's give Marilyn the recognition she never got in life. When Dr. Chen finished authenticating the tape, she sat in silence. Then she asked the question everyone who hears this story eventually asks, should the world hear this? The answer isn't simple, because once you hear Marilyn's voice on that tape, everything changes. Here's what people don't understand about the lost tape. It wasn't lost, it was hidden. Because sometimes the most important truths are the ones we're not ready to hear. For 57 years, the world believed one story, a tragic affair, a woman destroyed by powerful men. But that tape tells a different story. Marilyn wasn't a victim of the Kennedys. She was trying to save one. She recognized what everyone else missed because she lived it herself. And she loved Jack Kennedy enough to tell him the truth nobody else would. Stop. Get help. Stay alive. That takes courage most of us will never have. To look at your own reflection, recognize the end coming, and still use your last bit of strength to save someone else. The world painted Marilyn as broken, fragile. But listen to that tape and you hear something else entirely. You hear wisdom. You hear clarity. You hear about a woman who understood addiction and performance better than anyone. She wasn't confused. She was heartbreakingly aware. And Jack Kennedy heard her. That's what matters. He listened. He changed. He stopped the injections. He chose life. Marilyn's voice, recorded at 3 a.m. in a white bedroom, reached him when no one else could. We all wear masks, every single one of us. We perform strength when we're falling apart. We smile when we're crying inside. We pretend we're okay. Jack did it. Marilyn did it. You do it too. But here's what that tape teaches us. The most profound act of love isn't pretending someone's okay when they're not. It's seeing through their performance and loving them anyway. It's having the courage to say, I see you struggling, and it's not weakness, it's human. Who in your life is performing strength while hurting inside? Your spouse who says they're fine but isn't sleeping? Your friend who's always busy but never happy? Your child who seems successful but sounds hollow? What if you stopped pretending you didn't notice? What if you said the words she said to Jack? I see you. I know you're not okay, and you don't have to be perfect to be loved. Marilyn Monroe was gone on August 5th, 1962, alone in her bedroom. The world mourned the movie star, the icon, but they missed who she really was in those final days. A woman who understood suffering and tried to spare someone else from it. A woman who loved deeply enough to tell the truth. The lost tape wasn't about scandal. It was about seeing someone clearly and loving them anyway. Maybe that's what we all want. To be seen, to be understood, to be loved not despite our brokenness, but through it. Marilyn saw Jack. Jack heard Marilyn. And for one brief moment, two people in terrible pain tried to save each other. That's not a tragedy. That's the most human thing there is. If this story changed how you see Marilyn Monroe, subscribe so we can keep telling the real stories behind Hollywood's biggest legends. Hit like if you believe she deserves to be remembered for her courage, not just her tragedy. And share this with someone who needs to hear. That broken doesn't mean powerless. Thank you for watching.